Hello, and welcome to Women of Color and Confidence. My name is Amber Rose. Thank you so much for joining me today. Well, can you feel it? I can feel it. Here it's getting a lot warmer, but it's spring. The spring equinox has happened over the weekend, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the energy of spring. I know that you can feel it and that something is different, especially because we had spring forward with daylight saving time. And I understand that during this time, it can feel like now is your time to start moving, start doing. And for perfectionists like me out there, that means that you try to lump a whole lot of work into a short amount of time because you're here to try to catch up with things. You want to fix everything. You want to make sure it's all perfect. So as you're moving forward into these upcoming months, it all seems really great. I was thinking about some of the personal traditions and rituals that I have for the spring equinox. And it was interesting because these are, for me, traditions and rituals that I've built over the years, things that felt really good for me to do. But if you Google spring equinox traditions, spring equinox rituals, you'll see the same 5 articles, the same 5 traditions over and over. So if you're tired of seeing the same spring equinox rituals, I want to offer you a few of my personal traditions that I've accumulated over the years that support and honor you. This episode will offer you a different way of engaging this transitional time of the year that's more transformational. It's more intentional. It's more form fitting to your life and your dreams and your goals. And that's what I love about it so much. So the spring equinox happened on March 21st. And really what this time is about, balancing that light, the daylight with the dark, right? And the themes of the equinox are renewal and rebirth and reemergence. And you know those rituals that we were talking about when you Google and you see the same 5 ones, they ask you to create an altar, create an offering to Astara, to plant some seeds, to go outside. And all of those are really, really nice and great. But those traditions honor the season, right? And I really wanted to focus these rituals and traditions on honoring. When I started them, they were for me. And now for you, I want them to be able to honor you. So what are the changes that are happening inside of you right now, right? As women, we don't often take time to slow down and do rituals that honor ourselves. And I want you to think more about this in terms of like your body's doing the same thing that the earth is doing, right? You're warming up, your muscles are warming up. You're beginning to wake back up to ideas, right? This energy of nesting is beginning to shift. You're returning to energies that you had maybe before the winter. You're returning to, we carry a lot of things with us through the winter while we're resting, and then they kind of like whoop surface and pop back up. So that's the stuff that's going to be coming into place. And I know that a lot of us don't really let ourselves rest during winter. We're going to talk a little bit about that today as well. But it's really about the shifting through it, right? And one of the things that I was thinking about while I was putting this, I wrote a blog article to go with this episode today. And one of the things I was thinking about while I was writing was how much we actually don't take time to reflect or sit or let ourselves transition, and that we don't really let ourselves rest because we're taking so much time to work, right? There's this idea that we got to work, 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 work. But then where do we actually stop to reflect on our progress? Where do we actually stop to reflect on our success, right? We usually don't do that unless we've reached the outcome of what we've wanted. So we are looking at this from terms of, if we're not looking at it from effort or consistency or the emotional labor, showing up again and again and again, being here, being persistent. We only really do this reflection when we've got to the end and it's been a success, right? So we're giving all of this good energy to our work, to our relationships, to our communities, to our families. And then we don't really have rituals that stop and give back to ourselves while we're in the mix of doing all this showing up. Spring isn't just about what's blooming all around you, it's also about what's blooming inside of you and taking the time to acknowledge what that is and what that feels like. So these traditions are something that you get to experience in honoring that and in honoring you. I want to talk a little bit about this concept of winter transition into spring. I've been thinking more about this over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years of my life, how so many people celebrate the transition into a new year in December, and that's smack in the middle of winter, right? And so it can be a really challenging transition for people. I remember hearing, the statistics around people who stuck to their New Year's resolutions and those that didn't. And I finally started realizing I don't necessarily know if this is a motivation thing. This is the middle of winter. We shouldn't really be going out to like start all of this newness into our life. Like the energy of the world is telling us to sit down, calm down. It's not that time, right? So it can be really challenging in December and in January. And that's because you're trying to do things while the rest of the world is continuing to rest, right? This New Year's Eve, you could not tear me away from my fuzzy blankets. I really took this winter, the opportunity this winter to just cozy up and not start new things and kind of let some things drop off. I also was like, you know what? These things normally really provide for me in my life, but right now I just want to feel warm and comfy, and those fuzzy blankets save my life. So I think about this concept of, wanting to be really held and continue resting during the winter, but then also like the spring shows up and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. But here's the thing, New Year's Eve also still has its own energy. There is a buzz that happens around New Year's Eve. So you can't completely ignore that, right? Here's how I look at these two things. The New Year's Eve in the winter really feels like I'm getting in the car, putting in the key, and I'm turning it on the ignition. But that car is still cold. That car is still very cold and it needs to warm up. So you're going to want to let it sit for like 6 to 8 more weeks. And then once you get to the spring equinox, it's like, oh, I feel the energy. This feels good. My car is warm. I'm going to get in. I'm going to take my jacket off. And I think about spring being the moment that I put my car in drive and I put my foot on the gas pedal. So if that analogy helps, I hope that helps for you. The idea that spring is a rejuvenating time of year, I kind of want to put a squash to this because spring can have rejuvenating energy, but the rejuvenation process actually happens in winter. You don't start rejuvenating in the spring. You rejuvenate in that rest period of winter. Why am I bringing this up? Because most of us don't rest in the winter. We want to get things started and things moving, and we have time off from work, and there's a little bit more vacation, and we have the holidays, which means we kind of stray from our routines and we go, this feels like a very lackadaisical time, but also because I have all this time, now I want to start getting organized, doing things so I can hit spring hard, right? And in actuality, that's the time that this rejuvenating energy is happening for you so that you can step into spring and feel rejuvenated. See, most women don't rest in the winter, but then they get to spring and they feel all of this pressure, right? So you experience an energized spring by allowing yourself to have a rejuvenating winter. And if that's the first time you've ever heard that, here's your permission slip. Don't worry. If you didn't rest this winter, that's okay. You can still experience rejuvenating in spring. We're just going to tie in a little bit of rest into your springtime. So many of my personal traditions are going to be journal heavy. Why is that? It's an invitation to slow down. So much of us are on our computers or on our phones. Being able to pull out a journal and write things down is really nice. I also do some audio journaling when I talk, I can talk into my phone. Even that is a bit more of a slowdown than, for those of us who touch type, we're just like clackety, clackety, clack, right? And I feel like the journaling part, the reflection part, is an invitation to slow it down and to start reconnecting with the thoughts of ourselves and our brains that are not ignited when we're looking at our phones. I've been doing too much research about what happens when you stare at screens all day. I'm like, give me a piece of paper and a pen. I would like to do some of this reflecting away from my screens. So, highly recommend you do this with pen and paper. You do the traditions with pen and paper or audio. I do audio voice notes, something like that to myself. Um, and I want to talk a bit about the perfectionist patterns that happen here because we want things to be perfect. We want things to be polished, right? As I said before, we're only celebrating our wins when we get results. We're ignoring process. And I feel like that means we're not reflecting in real time at the process. So these types of reflections are really nice, especially when you do them on the equinoxes and on the solstices, right? We have the spring equinox and the fall equinox. We have the summer solstice and the winter solstice. And if you're like me, I also like to do one on my birthday. I like to do a little reflecting on my birthday. And so these times of years are really personal check-ins where you can take the time to slow down and say, what was my progress, in the last 90 days? So funny, I was talking to somebody today and they were talking about an excursion that's happening in May. And they said, it's just the end of May, but it's going to come so fast. And I sat there thinking, that's just, 8 weeks away. That's 2/3 of a quarterly check-in with yourself. There's a lot that can happen in that amount of time. And most of the times we don't stop to think about what's happening or how much progress we've made because we're too busy just continuing to get to the end of the line. What's the end result that I'm going for here, right? So if you do these 4 to 5 check-ins, you can really take the time to stop and look at what your progress is. I'm going to be really honest with you. Building anything, including a dream, including going after a big goal, is very likely going to take you more than 90 days, right? People try to market things to you that's going to squish your results into 90 days, into 3 months, into 6 months. And I just want to say, allow yourself the time you need to build whatever dream or goal that you need to, and then also take the time to do these reflections. I really dislike the quote, like, progress over perfection, but it's so true. And I think that that's why it became so cliche, because it's such a truth, right? There's this idea of, I want these things to be perfect, but then I'm not looking at progress, right? So progress over perfection, yes. And I'm going to take this a step further and say progress over completion, right? This recognition of the progress that you're making is actually helping you build momentum, right? You don't need to be at the end to look at your progress. You don't need to have final results to look to see how much work you've been putting in and how there are results that are happening all along. I follow a woman who's a painter. She had a video go viral last year where she was talking to us as her audience, and she said, I just want to ask you a quick question. Did you make progress last year? From your birthday last year to right? Has there been any progress? I'm not asking how much progress. I'm not asking how much. I'm asking if there was. Oh, there was? Great. Let's talk about that. And this really hit home. It hit home with me, and I think it hit home with so many other women as well, because we tend not to allow ourselves to discuss progress without qualifiers. Constantly want to qualify our progress. I did progress, but not that much. I did progress, but not as much as I planned to. I did progress, but not as much as I should have. All of these qualifiers. Allow these traditions that you try, these rituals that you try for the spring equinox, to be about acknowledging the progress without qualifiers, without quantifiers or qualifiers. So over the years, I have created a handful of personal traditions that have really helped me stay connected to myself It helps me transition into the season really intentionally rather than just like, I'm going to do all the things. It helps me like really focus and take a little bit more inventory of where I'm coming out of, the season I'm coming out of, and the season that I'm going into. And the rituals that I do have this added benefit of helping perfectionists recover from their perfectionist tendencies. How can we put down this need to constantly be perfect, to constantly be performing, to constantly be producing, and instead just look at what it is we have in front of us and what it is that we're coming out of and what it is that we're looking forward to. So I did write a blog. It's called The 8 Traditions and Rituals for Spring Equinox. I will put a link to the blog here in the caption of the video and the caption of the podcast. But I'm not going to be able to go through all 8 of them today. So I'm going to pick a few of them that I think are going to be really supportive to your transition. So the first one is actually one of my favorite ones. I'm not going to lie, they're all my favorite. Who am I kidding? But the first one is one that really helped me feel more worthy of the spring equinox energy. We talk about, the spring cleaning, we got to have a whole new house. We got to have a whole new room. We got to clean a whole new car. Like all of these things where it's like everything needs to be clean. I put this pressure on myself for many years. I absolutely did. Or I was like, in 2 days, I'm going to clean my entire house from top to bottom. And it's just like so unrealistic for those of us who have full lives, full careers, full families, full everything. How are you going to clean an entire house? Like spick and span every spot up and down in 2 days. Come on. Now, I have seen that there are people out there who are saying, like, let's be realistic about this. This is going to take us 2 weeks, but we're going to do it. I love that idea for you. Absolutely. If that's you, go ahead, boo boo. For me, I found that trying to take on my entire living space was just too much. And so what I started doing was once I had written my spirit inventory, which we're going to talk about next, that's ritual number 2. Once I'd written my spirit inventory and thought about what it is that I wanted to be cultivating in the spring, then I picked a spot in my house that supported those activities and I deep cleaned the heck out of that space because it was going to support the action I was wanting to take in the spring. So it's a very focused and intentional spring cleaning. You're going to choose one space, choose it on purpose, and then clean it up. This is going to help alleviate that overwhelming feeling of like, first I got to do my desk, then I got to do my office, then I got to go to the bathroom, then I got to do my room, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. Like, it's just like you begin to spiral and then nothing gets done, right? So there's the idea that you don't have to clean your entire life. Forget the whole house clean. You have a full life, you have limited time, but your dream still deserves to have some of that cleansing energy to it. So I want you to be strategic. Choose one space that directly supports something that you want to activate during this season. If you want to write more, clean up your desk. If you want to get better sleep, do your bedroom. If you want to move your body more, focus on an area in your house. I know my yogis, they have their little yoga corner or their yoga space. Clean and clear up that space, right? Whatever you're going to write in your spirit inventory, allow this cleaning to be a support to that. This is less about cleaning and more about creating an environment that invites that aligned action. So these are small intentional shifts in the space to create those big shifts in your behavior, and wanting to sit at your desk, wanting to get on your mat, wanting to go to bed early and get into that bed. So choose one space to focus your cleaning, and it'll minimize the overwhelming nature of spring clean. One space, 1 hour, a couple of hours, just immense impact to that space. Okay, number 2, my ritual number 2. I like to take a spirit inventory. This is really about journaling and reconnecting to myself. And this is really an honest energy audit, right? I don't want you to give me the highlight, and that's not even me. I don't want you to write or journal your highlight reel. I want this to be more about you being honest about the energy that you have right now and the energy that you're wanting to cultivate in the spring. This is about honoring yourself. Remember, this is about your internal awareness. So give yourself some time and space to do this. For me personally, I like to do it when I know that I have nothing to do afterwards, right? I'm not trying to squeeze this into the 30 minutes I have before work or the 20 minutes I have before picking up kiddo, or, there's no appointments behind it. I usually pick like a Sunday morning where I go outside in the grass and I just know I have as much time as I need to write this. And I really take the time to connect with myself without rushing into something else. So as you're deciding where you're wanting to go, get honest about where you are right now. This spirit inventory is a check-in with your actual energy, not some idealized version of it. Notice where your energy is. Where is it full? Where does it feel blocked? Where does it feel like your energy is like slowly leaking out of your body? And where do you feel like you're forcing yourself to like keep going, even though you don't have the energy to keep going? From there, I want you to gently explore where you want your energy to flow. As you're going into these spring months, you're going to have more energy naturally. It's going to happen. So, where are you wanting to put that, right? Now, I don't want this to be a to-do list, right? When we talk about where your energy is going, I want you to think of it more like a guiding compass, right? It's not, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's, I will, spending more time doing this, and this is what it looks like. I'm going to use my yogis again, right? I don't want you to think about it more like I'm going to get on my mat 5 days a week. I'm going to make sure that I'm practicing pranayama 2 times a week along with my asana 5 times a week. I'm going to go to this new studio 2 times. Like, I don't want it to be like this to-do list. Make it more intentional as a compass, right? These are the things that I would like to learn. Or when I get on my mat, when I'm on my mat, I would like my energy to go towards more restful asana, or I would like to do more vinyasa asana. Like, how do you want your energy to look while you're engaging in this practice? I'm going to practice pranayama because I would like my energy to feel more fiery, or I would like to use my breath to help me with my stressful days, right? Where do you want your energy to flow? How do you want it to support you? Not so much a boom, boom, boom. It's not about productivity. It's not about pressure. It's just about your intuition and what your desired vision for the future is when it comes to your flow of energy. Number 3, I have to admit, I've only been doing this one for, I think this was my second year, but I absolutely love it. It is definitely becoming an every year spring equinox ritual for me. And that is release what belongs to winter. This is letting go of an expectation. This is letting go of the guilt from the season that you didn't do enough, or that you, for me, one for me was that I had to release this idea that I was in such a consistent flow with a lot of my habits, and I just kind of set them down for winter. And then as like spring started coming in and my energy started coming back, I was like, oh, it's been like 2 months since I've done that. Oh my gosh, I haven't picked up this book. And so, oh my God, where are my running shoes? I haven't run in so long. I don't know where my running shoes are. Oh no. And I started feeling this wave of guilt and shame about how long it had been since I had done some of these things, that I wasn't doing enough in winter to stick with it. So I want you to allow yourself to, instead of thinking about all the things you didn't do or the expectations you didn't meet or how much you weren't doing enough, I want you to think more about what you actually carried. What were the things that you were doing that carried you through the winter and to spring? I think a lot about the holiday season. I think many women do, especially when they have families at home. How much I did for the holiday seasons. I actually traveled to see family over the holiday season. so that my friends didn't have to carry their kids across the country. I was like, yeah, it's just me. Auntie Amber's on the way. I want to come be a part of this tradition with you, right? But traveling during the winter, during the holidays, I carried that. That's crazy. Yeah, pat on the back for me, you know? Also, honoring what you have carried means that you are honoring the rest. If you rested this winter, I hope you are clapping for yourself, because it's one of those things that we just don't do. And so rather than thinking about all the things you didn't do or all the things you put down, what did you carry? What did you allow yourself to do? How did you engage this season? Before you fully step into spring, take a moment to consciously close the chapter behind you. Sit down, write what you're choosing to leave in the last season, right? It can be old patterns, limiting stories, projects that have run its course. This one's hard for us. I know. I feel like I could do a whole episode on putting down projects that have run their course. Allow this to be leaving behind any guilt that you are quietly carrying, or versions of yourself that just no longer fit what you want to be doing in the new year. And then you can also release this physically in some way. Any way that's meaningful to you. You can bury it, you can burn it, you can tear it into little pieces, whatever it is that allows you to feel like you can actually let it go and leave it behind. Your body needs the ritual of completion just as much as your mind needs that vision for what is happening next. So allow yourself to sit down, make this list of what you are leaving in winter. Allow yourself to rip or burn or bury, leave it behind, because you can't build something new while you're still white knuckling through the old. So let it be over, and let's look towards something new as a new beginning. And the last ritual I'm going to share it with you here today, also a new favorite over the last 2 years, is to regulate before you accelerate. This is about nervous system awareness. And this really ties back to the idea of urgency in spring, right? This, oh, it's spring and there's more light and there's more energy. I mean, I was just going outside and watching. Yes, the trees are blooming and everything, but then I went on a run this morning. I found my running shoes and I went on a run this morning, and the bunnies are back out. The bunnies are out again. And I'm like, oh, they're moving around so quick. And I could just see how all of us are doing the same. But really taking the time to regulate before you accelerate is, allowing that spring urgency to calm down and really beginning to move from a grounded place. Just because the world is speeding up doesn't mean that your body is ready to, and we also want to honor that as well. So as the world speeds up, your body might feel the urge to match that pace, right? So before you start jumping into action, pause and check in with yourself. Check in with your nervous system. This can be as simple as taking a full breath before you get out of a chair. Sometimes I'll be in a conversation with someone and I can see that they're talking very quickly. And before I respond, I'll take a full breath and then respond. I'll just slow the conversation down. This could be giving yourself an extra 20 minutes at home in the morning before rushing off to work. This was a really bad habit of mine when I was younger, that I would literally put my alarm clock to the minute. I'm not a snoozer kind of gal. I would like take it to the minute. And the second I heard it, I would jump out of bed, get in the shower, brush my teeth, put my clothes on, jet out the door. And I just think of how I don't really judge on a lot of things, but when I see people doing this or I hear about people doing this, I'm like, oh, Lord, can you please stop doing that? Your nervous system must be on pins and needles, right? What would happen if you had 20 extra minutes? Listen to me. Listen to me. I have people in my life who tell me right now, I want every single minute of sleep I could possibly have. And I say, if you wake up 20 minutes earlier and you do not rush around your house like a chicken with its head cut off, you're going to be giving your body so much more rest than if you sleep those extra 20 minutes and you're Tasmanian devil around your house trying to get ready to go. Okay? Take the 20 minutes. Pause. Pause. I like this pause because it's so easy to do. It's totally free. You just have to commit to taking a beat. So you can utilize this pause with breath work. You can utilize this pause with breath work. You can utilize this pause with a hand over your heart. But it's just allowing you to regulate before you start moving around, right? You can do this for longer sessions or shorter sessions, whatever it is. Just taking the time to pause is often very helpful. With these practices, your actions become more intentional and far more sustainable as you begin to move throughout the season. Now, the other 4 rituals are on the blog. And like I said, I don't want you to feel like this is homework or like you have to do all 8 of these to feel like you're ready to step into the spring. But I just wanted to offer these to you as an alternative to what you may be seeing as you search the Googles, because those rituals are there to honor Spring and Astera, and I'm happy that they are there. I also would like for you to take the time to honor yourself, to slow down, to not feel like you've missed anything, to not feel like you have to catch up with anything. Create some intentional movement in your life by using these rituals and traditions. Like I said, there's 8 of them on the blog. You could do all 8. You could do a handful. You could just do 1. Mostly these are here to support you. I don't want you to feel like you also have to do all of them this week just because the equinox was this week. Again, we're moving into this season more intentionally. And if it takes you a couple weeks and you want to do all of the rituals, let that be. It's still going to be supportive and it's still going to be helpful. You don't have to rush through any of it at all. Now, if you are looking for support in time to do these rituals, I remember I said the spirit inventory is one that I love to do when I have like nothing else going on the day. I don't know if I'm going to be writing for 15 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to be writing for 3 hours. I'm just not quite sure. But if you're like, hey, I really want to do this, I'm not sure where I can set time to do these rituals with myself, what should I do? I have a monthly power hour. I will put a link to the power hour in the caption of the podcast so that you can join us if you're like, hey, I'm going to join the power hour and just do one of these rituals while I'm there. It's really more of a working session. We're not talking to one another. We're just there. Sometimes I'm there to answer questions if you have questions about some of the work that you're doing. I have clients who join the power hour and ask me questions about their weekly homework and things like that. So I will put a link to that if you would like to come and join us for the monthly power hour to do your rituals. So again, I just want to close with reminding you that this season isn't asking you to rush. You don't need to rush. This year, it's asking you to move differently in a way that actually honors you and your goals and your dreams. You don't need to rush. You just need to begin, and begin in a way that feels really good to you and your body. So I would love to hear how you enjoyed the rituals, which rituals you tried. You can put it here in the comments, or you can message me as well. Women of Color and Confidence will have more episodes coming, so be sure to like and subscribe if you would like to be up to date with those videos. We do have a bi-weekly newsletter that comes out, so if you want to stay up to date on any future blogs or episodes of Women of Color and Confidence, you can always subscribe to the newsletter as well. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing this spring equinox energy with me. I will be seeing you soon. Bye.